White people should not adopt Black kids. They will hate you. Let them never get adopted and see how good life is.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to AdoptedGals podcast. We're here once again, bringing you topics about being adopted kids, specifically transracially being adopted. And I'm your host, Howard Zabel.
And I am Pamata Warfield. Today's topics, we decided to find like certain questions or statements that people have made when it comes to adoption. And some of these questions we got from one of an adoptee who talks about the same thing that we do. And there's just people question the comments that they posted. So we saw some of that were like, you know what? It'll be a good idea to bring some of those questions to our platform to discuss for those people who don't truly understand adoption, especially when it comes to transracial adoption. So the first question today or statement that was made was, I don't see why race is such a problem with adoption. And that's a valid question to ask. And I don't know if this person was coming from a place of being curious or just saying something to say something. And race becomes a problem with adoption because at the end of the day, you guys don't look alike. It don't look alike. The only time it does become a problem is when you adopt a child and you don't consider their race. You don't consider like the things that they may go through, especially me being us being Black children that were adopted with a white family. You have to be able to understand the plights that we as Black children are going to go through. You have to do your research. You have to talk to other Black people. You have to look around your surroundings. Otherwise, certain things are going to come up. Like I experienced certain things with my family that, became a problem because of race. And it's not that they were trying to do things on anything on purpose. It's just there were certain things that they did not do or did better research on.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah. And, you know, race is a big thing overall. If you are in America, whether you're adopted or not,
Mm-hmm.
having awareness and knowledge about the various different challenges and privileges that people have within each race, that's a
Mm-hmm.
hot topic no matter what state you live in. If you are in America, that's a topic that's very prevalent. Now, take that into adoption where you're bringing another child of a different race into your house, where you're
Mm-hmm.
going to be building and forming a family. For you to
Mm-hmm.
say that you don't understand why that is even should even be as much of a important topic as it is,
Yeah.
shows that you just don't either live under a rock, or you just aren't even interested or curious in wanting to
Mm-hmm.
understand or learn, right? You just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like turn a blind eye to a lot of reality of what goes on in America when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
race overall. And to be honest with you, it's like one of the reasons why we talk a lot about race is because, you can adopt a child and
Mm-hmm.
just treat your child like um anyhow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just think of yourself as like the support and the provider, right? That just houses
Mm-hmm.
them, clothes them, feeds them. But if
Mm-hmm.
you really want to create a bond and form like a very familiar type of connection with your adoptive children that are of different races, you want to
Mm-hmm.
come from a very holistic point of view. And race is an aspect, right? Because you guys are different. You have like Fatmata said, you have different cultures. You're going to have different ways of operating and thinking,
Mm-hmm.
based on how you're perceived in this world,
Mm-hmm.
completely different ways. And so if you really have the best intentions for your child,
Mm-hmm.
race should be very important to you. Yes, it should be very important to you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I think some people when they say, well, race should not matter when it comes to adoption, I think some of them are trying to come from a perspective of, well, then that way I can just treat everybody the same, to kind of try to make it seem like I don't see your skin color. So
Yeah.
that way it just makes it easier for me to just, you know what, you're my child. I don't care what color you are. You just, we're gonna get along. And even though the intention is not necessarily bad, but you looking at it from that perspective,
Mhm.
You may end up doing certain things to that child, or they're gonna have certain experiences, because you have that lens that may be toxic to that child. So you definitely do have to see race. You have to understand where the
Mhm.
child, child's coming from. And also it just creates, once again, it just creates a better environment with your child in your house, to
Mhm.
understand that they're being seen and heard. And for your
Mhm.
child to come to you, oh, I experienced racism in school today, and because you haven't done any research or anything about racism, that what your child may face, you're going to be sitting there like stuck, like, oh, I didn't see race with my child and the children that I have now. Here we are, and I don't know how to deal with this problem. And it's like, you may not necessarily, if you have that lens, you're not going to be able to help your child in the best way possible for them to figure out how to actually deal with racism. You have to do the research, you have to understand and learn, you have to see them, you have to see their skin
Mhm.
color. It's not enough for you to say, oh, I don't see race, and be like, well, that should be enough. No, it's not going to work.
Exactly. And I think, like, you just build a better relationship with your child when you're seeing them for who they are as
Yeah.
an individual, and not just like, oh, I'm going to lump you with the rest of my other kids. Let's say if you have other maybe
Hmm.
biological children, because, it
Hmm.
really shows the child that you really care about, like, making sure that you're doing everything on your side to make them feel like
Yeah.
they do, their identity and who they are does fit into your household. It
Yeah.
does fit, they may go outside of your house and feel like we're talking about Black kids now, right? But they might go
Hmm.
outside of their house and feel like the world is against them, right?
Hmm.
But then when they come to your house, they feel
Hmm.
celebrated. Who they are, their identity, their
Hmm.
challenges, some of the things that make them unique, things that we excel at as Black people, right? Stereotypically,
Right.
right? You being able to celebrate those aspects that's very specific to their culture and their race is
Hmm.
important for them to feel like, hey, like, this may not be my biological mom or dad, but they really care
Hmm.
about me. They go above and beyond to make sure that I feel seen, I feel heard,
Yes.
um, and whatnot, right? And now we're not saying when you're, with if you adopt a Black child that you have to treat them better than your white biological children. That's not what we're saying at all whatsoever. You know, we're just saying that just have the cognizance and
Hmm.
awareness, and then
Hmm.
use that awareness to educate yourself and to build a bond with your child that's
Hmm.
beyond this, oh, you're just an adopted child. And
Yeah.
another reason why this is so important is because most kids that we like talk to that are adopted, like, it's been
Hmm.
a big issue for them. That's one of the reasons why them and their adoptive parents don't even have a relationship, is because of reasons. You know what I mean? It's not because they didn't feed them, or sometimes there's like some abuse, right? Like molestation or mental
Right.
abuse, right? But race is always a consistent topic and issue. It is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, completely well said. And there was also another comment that was made by a woman who was underneath our post. I had created a video talking about white saviorism. For some reason, it's like deeply rooted in some white people, especially when it comes to adoption. Like, it's all about, some of them, not all, some of them, it's all about looking good and doing good acts, and just getting that, oh my, that praise, like, you did so well, you did so good, look at you, you are thriving. And that's all they want to hear when it comes to adoption, all the good. But then when you talk about the bad, it's like, how dare you talk about the bad, like, you are so ungrateful, how dare you talk about your family like that, like. And when we talk about that, it's not necessarily, once again, it's never like trying to tear down our families. Once again, it's about, building bridges. And that was what I said in my video. And of course, this woman, she proved our point by saying white people should not adopt Black kids. They will hate you. Let them never get adopted and see how good life is. So it's kind of like, shut up, or
Yeah.
we're just not adopting any more Black kids and see what happens. So it's like, instead of you trying to open up your mind and see things from a different perspective, you rather take the route of, well, just F it. No more adoptions, no more adopting Black kids. Black kids are gonna hate you. That is the furthest thing from the truth. That is literally the furthest thing from the truth. Like, I haven't, I mean, personally, I don't hate my family. Like, even though we don't have a relationship, I don't hate them. The relationship ended because of certain things that were outside of hate or any of that.
Mhm.
But it was just
Mhm.
interesting seeing this question. It's just like a lot of white people really seem to struggle with white saviorism. Like it's deeply rooted, like to the point where this girl is like, well, F everything. Like if you're not gonna give me the praise
Right.
that I want, that I need to for me to look good as a white person, then you might as well not. I'm not going to adopt a child that actually needs help, that actually needs, shelter, that actually needs, care and a better life.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
it don't
and you know
make
what?
sense.
Fatmata, you're right. Like this this lady is basically attempting to like gaslight
Uh-huh.
you, like because she was responding to one of your videos, right? So she's trying to gaslight you and just tell you to shut up and just like
Mhm.
whatever you say, even though you're the one that lived that experience, doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? It's like just shut up already. We're done hearing about this. We're done,
Mhm.
and mind you, I don't even know if this person even knows somebody that's adopted or even
Yeah.
adopted a child, right? So sometimes it's just like random people who are spammers and they just like to comment some, very
Yeah.
inappropriate stuff. But I think her comment is like something that's very common, like how a lot of people think. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Unfortunately, I think a lot of people think that way,
Yeah.
where it's like, well, either you got to have the whole package of being grateful and that's all it is. And, or if you do have some criticism or anything to say regarding your adoption process, then you're just
Mhm.
ungrateful, point blank, period. And there's a middle ground, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's appreciation for the fact
Mhm.
that, yes, we did in a way get saved, right? Because
Mhm.
if we were living our lives prior to, if we hadn't gotten adopted, we would be still in a country that's very impoverished.
Mhm.
Probably like have multiple kids by the age of like 17, 18.
Mhm.
We could have been dead for all we know, right? Because we both have siblings that did pass away.
Mhm.
Um, very early ages. And so, yes, we're very grateful for that aspect of getting saved, getting the support,
Mhm.
getting the love. I think we both did get some love in our household and
Mhm.
getting the opportunities that we've gotten. But at the same
Yeah.
time, there's room to say, here is other areas where
Mhm.
maybe our experiences could have been improved so that our relationship could be stronger, right?
Mhm.
So that we can grow up as an adult and still feel close with our adoptive parents and feel like we still have the support, the emotional support, the love that's still there. I think there should definitely be gray area for some criticism,
Sure.
and no one is saying adoption shouldn't happen. People who adopt are bad people.
Yeah.
Um, some white people, they literally like I went to when I went to Sierra Leone in 2017 and this lady was adopting she came to Sierra Leone to adopt this beautiful beautiful little girl,
Mhm.
and she was coming from America,
Mhm.
believe the East Coast, through like missionary church act, so that's why
Mhm.
she was adopting. And this lady, I just remember she was just like, oh, I can't wait for you to like just learn about Jesus Christ and the Savior, our Lord. And that's all I kept on hearing this lady telling this little girl. And I'm like, damn, lady, like you don't even know how to pronounce this girl's name. Like she didn't even
Yeah.
learn this girl's name. She didn't even take the time out to really learn this girl's name. And she just wants to like save her and like just be a savior to this little girl. And I'm just like, oh, like that's the kind of stuff we mean. Like you don't even want to take the time out. You've been living with this girl in
Mhm.
Sierra Leone for almost 2 weeks. You can't even say her name right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're so right. Like a lot of times when it comes to white saviorism, it's literally just about them. And it's like you're sitting here talking about how you can't wait to bring Jesus into their heart or whatever. But it's like, that's like, I'm sorry, like that's the least of your worries right now. That's the least of what the things that you need to be teaching that child. Like there is so much more like the trauma, the adapting to the environment, like all the like big things that child
Mhm.
needs to learn first. Like that's the last thing. I mean, yes, knowing God and getting close to God is great. And at the same time, like there are bigger things.
This little girl already knew God. The religion they practice is Christianity. Like it's
Yeah.
not like she's gonna learn. I mean, I was
Yeah.
more Christian than the kids out here when I came to America. You know what I mean? So it was just like, it's just her whole tonality was just like, we just came here to save you, your poor African child. You know
Mhm.
that rhetoric, and it's like I wanted to butt in and like say
Mm.
something, but I was like, okay, maybe it's not appropriate. Like I don't know this lady, and
Yeah.
I'm coming here, I'm volunteering. I don't want to stir anything up, but I genuinely wanted to butt in. Um, and say some
Yeah.
things to her. And I think, and there was another thing actually that she said that I was just like, oh my God, this little girl is
Mhm.
in for like doomsday or something.
Mhm.
Because she mentioned we were talking about hair, and she was like, oh, what type of hairstyles, should I do on this girl's hair and whatever? And I'm like giving her ideas. And I'm like, well, I don't live in your area, but it might be really helpful if you go to like communities like African or Black communities where they can do. And she's like, oh no, I can't do that. It's not, those areas are not safe. So I can't take my daughters over there. No, she literally told me this.
And this
And
is why I'm against adoption when it comes to stuff like this.
she
Very
literally
specific when I say that, because
bold face
it's
told
not
me.
about the child. Like a lot of them,
She's
it's
like,
not about
I
the freaking
can't do
child.
that. It's not safe, and I just would rather not have to go. And I'm like, but okay, so there's solutions to that, right? If you don't feel safe, first of all, the mentality needs to shift. But if you don't feel safe, how about you go find a mentor? How about you find someone that's comfortable being in the Black neighborhood? How about you actually just put yourself outside of your circle and just go to Black community for maybe 20 minutes? Now, do you know how uncomfortable that feels for you? Now, just
Mhm.
imagine that's how the little girl is going to feel for the rest of her 18 years with you, right? She's going to have to
Right,
learn how to accommodate everything to you. So if you can't even make small accommodations like going to areas where people look like her, you know what I
right.
mean? Like, that's wild to
And
me. That's
it's
wild.
it's and it's a big disconnect when it comes to that. And it just goes back to racism on how some white people just do not see Black people as humans. Because if
Mhm.
it was a white kid that they were adopting, like those things would not be coming up in that way. Of course not, because there's certain things that they're going to understand and see them as humans, and the things that they're actually going to need. Like as a
Mhm.
Black kid, of course they're going over there. Oh, look at me, all me. This is all about me, not the child, not really about the child, and saying stuff like that. Why you're literally stereotyping people who look like her.
Yeah, and it's like
And
there's so many neighborhoods. I'm sure she hasn't really actually done the research
she did
to
not do.
see.
You could tell
She
she
didn't
did
do,
not
she
do
probably
any
did not do
research.
the research because I used to live in Oakland, which is like, there's a lot of ghetto parts of Oakland, but there's also a lot of hair salons and stylists who live
Yeah,
maybe 10 minutes from Oakland, or even in Oakland, it's really nice. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's the ability to be able to look outside of yourself and be curious and really
and
want the betterment for your child. She wasn't
yeah,
even willing to go that route. You see what I'm saying?
right,
So it was more so, we want to bring you here for Jesus Christ and save you. But she
yeah.
doesn't actually have a plan once she does save the girl. What's going to happen next?
Right.
What's going to
It's
happen?
like you have to kill the white saviorism in you. If you're a white parent or any parent of a different race or whatever, and you're trying to adopt a child that doesn't look like you have to kill certain stereotypes. You have to kill the white saviorism in you if you're going to adopt. Like that has to go. Because otherwise, you're going to be hurting that child. And also, you're going to be also like hurting your own family in a way that you did not expect because you're so stuck on just being seen as this good, amazing person and then
Yeah.
completely ignoring everything else about that child. Like you have to do research. You have to do extensive research. The fact that she was just like asking about what hairstyle should I do? She did
Yeah.
not do any research. It feels like that lady just like, you know what? I want a kid, like a little
But
bag
I
that
was
she
like,
wanted. She just wanted
you're gonna go all the way to Africa for that. And there's some things you gotta really look into because
and
and I also advise, sorry Fatma to cut you off, but I was gonna say I also advise like before you actually, it's okay for you to adopt somebody that's outside of your race. That's totally fine because there's a lot of Black people who are just not willing to adopt, or not in a position to adopt. So those kids sometimes they need to get adopted. You're going to be putting them in a safer position, right? And support
Mhm,
them financially. But I also advise before you even adopt, try to find someone that's within the race of the child
mhm,
that you're going to adopt and
mhm,
try to become friends with that person. Try to
mhm,
understand some of the culture, places to go, restaurants to go to, events and activities to do, some of the nonverbals of being what it means to be in that culture. You know what I mean? So that when you actually do adopt a child, you can actually have at least a bit of real world understanding, not just textbook understanding. You know what I mean?
It's just sad that there are people out here who just hop on an adoption wagon, not really understanding what they're, what they're getting into. And I also blame like orphanages and adoption centers that don't do their research. Like I feel like they need to do thorough research on people who are trying to adopt these kids. Don't just let anyone come in to adopt a kid that doesn't look like them. Like it has to be, hey, are you prepared for this? Like, what have you done? Like, I need proof. I need to see where you are at when it comes to adopting. So you're not taking these kids that we care about and just for your own little personal fun thing, whatever, like a little bag that you're gonna get, and you're just, well, this is what this is what I want for now. And then when it comes time to actually dealing with the real stuff and you can't deal with it, you get rid of the child. You disrupt. Like so many kids that how and I know, like the
Yeah, like
reality
our first
set
guest,
in,
like Esther.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, the reality set in, like, oh wow, I did not think about all of this stuff. Like this is really hard. This is harder than I thought it was gonna be. And they just disrupt the kid. And it's like, and then you're messing up that kid's life. You're messing up their psyche. You are inflicting so much trauma and pain on that child because you're just selfish and everything was about you from the beginning. And you refuse to look at yourself. You refuse to do the work that needs to happen to adopt a child. It's sick. It's absolutely
Hmm.
sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Honestly. Definitely agreed on that. I feel like we hit a lot of good notes. So for the two people who made those comments, if y'all ever come across this video, hopefully now you understand. Hopefully we just
Yeah.
answered your
I
questions.
hope I hope it expands your mind outside of your little bubble that you've created for yourself, and you just refuse to see outside of yourself and see
Mhm.
things outside of like what you grew up in. And it's like, and it's sad. There's so much, and just on a off topic, like there's so much, to see in the world, like different cultures to experience, different types of people. And like, how could you just like stay in your own bubble and just do not expand? Like there's so much good out there to see. There's so much that I just don't understand. For me, because I'm just like outward going person. I don't
Yeah.
understand people just stay like
Yeah.
one track minded
Yeah.
and that's it.
Some people just like being comfortable and safe, and that's really all it is. And
Yeah.
honestly, for the people who are adopting and they maybe you did decide to save because of a church mission or whatever, like, and you've
Mhm.
already adopted the child, it's like you can't give the child back now, you know. It's like just make sure like to educate yourself, watch videos from people who've actually lived through the experience themselves, not another white person that's just talking because
Mhm.
they've never lived it. You know what I mean? Like actually listen to adoptees who've gone through the experiences. Listen to maybe some parents who are white who maybe adopted transracially and they've gone through challenges and they've seen
Mhm.
some success of rekindling relationships, whatever. But you want real people talking about this, not just going off of a textbook and just reading some damn books. That's not how this stuff really works. You have to talk to real people and really make sure that you talk to people who are adopted, who've been adopted, who've gone through the ups and downs. We'll
Yeah.
tell you how it is for real. We'll tell you the real deal. We won't hold back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you said everything that was needed to said. And to wrap up, I really hope this video finds who it's supposed to be for, whether you are an adoptee or a parent who's adopted or is looking to adopt. I really hope this helps you guys. If you have any questions, concerns, just don't forget to either email us or just kind of like write the questions in the chat box. Don't be afraid to just open up and ask. We are here to help. We are here to answer any questions. If you have any friends or anyone else, just family members, share our stuff. Don't forget to subscribe, to follow us on TikTok and Instagram. And thank you for being here with us for this video. You have a good day or good night.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
guys. Bye.